Ryan Leslie, who will talk all about the music industry and how to manage our money. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we are all trying to make some money, save some money, make our money, make some money. And you have a wealth plan, which is what, a financial literacy club?
Yes.
What gave you the idea to create
It's
this?
a club, you know. I feel as though really when we grow up, we are taught almost culturally that finances are, and there's actually a moniker for it, personal finance, right? And so we are caught in between, should we share what's happening with our finances? Should we keep it a secret? I know for me growing up, it was, hey, you don't talk about how much you make. You don't talk about how much you have invested, how much you have saved. What I found though is that when you can make the journey a collective journey, the pathway to, let's call it understanding of what's actually happening, the ability to have a sounding board where you have a community of folks that are concerned and have some care and consideration for your financial well-being, this can really make a massive difference in the achievement of, let's call it exponential compounding. So that's really what the premise of Wealth Plan was all about, is the fact that when I decided I wanted to learn finances, I wanted to not rent a Bruce Lee movie and teach myself karate. I wanted to learn directly from someone who actually did it the right way. And so Wealth Plan is exactly that. It allows me to, based on what I've been able to achieve, now be able to give back in a way that allows me to be a one-on-one mentor and hopefully make an impact that's not just going to be for the person I'm mentoring, but for a family, for a generation as well.
So speaking of generations, how can someone who, we got no generational wealth, how can they get to that point?
Yeah. To get to generational wealth, so much has been said about it, right? It's such a simple concept. It's the eighth wonder of the world. It is compounding. And you can start, it's really just about starting. So listen, when you think about compounding, you think about it over time, the wealthiest investors, or maybe the most well-known wealthiest investors, the ones that are on the Forbes list, the ones that have done it in the financial markets, those investors are those who started small and just consistently compounded over time. Now, I know that there are so many, let's call it, apprehensions when it comes to the stock market. It can be a very sort of, it could be a very sort of opaque, scary place to be, right? And when we look at statistics, when we're able to actually remove the human tendencies that will make an investor lose money, when we're able to remove those human tendencies from our decision making, we're actually able to have smooth sailing when it comes to compounding. So what does that mean? That means that we should be able to drive our decision making with data and statistics. The best data around a company that you want to own is just the fundamental data of how the business is actually performing. And the beauty of the public markets in the United States of America is that every 3 months you can get a very, very clear earnings report from every single company that's publicly traded. And if you want to actually, let's call it, reduce your risk and volatility, you can just invest in an index. And the S&P 500, we hear it talked about all the time, but the reason we hear about it all the time is because when you look at the historical statistical data of being invested in the S&P, a time horizon of 20 years or more means that you have a 0% chance of loss. So if you can take losses out of investing in the stock market, how much more at ease can we be when taking our first steps? And so when we think about generational wealth, and that's the question you're asking, it's about getting started as early as possible. And that means that even if you're starting later, let's say you're starting in 30s, 40s, 50s, you know someone in your family, could be a son, daughter, a niece or nephew, that once you've acquired this knowledge, each one teach one. And it's the ability to actually show how your money is working for for you to those who are coming up after you. And once they can, let's call it develop, but not just develop, but master a sense of how to actually navigate the financial markets, you find that starting earlier delivers exponential results over time when it comes to compounding. And what's compounding? It's just incremental gains, 100,000 or even 10,000 or 1,000 that grows by 10%. That percentage is equal for everyone across the board. So if you stay invested for a year, you got $1,000 and you get a 10% return, you're going to make $100 on that 1,000.
So
Learning, yeah, go ahead.
What would you tell someone who, I don't know, they 70 years old, they're doing this, they ain't got all that time.
Yes.
What would you tell that person?
So you're saying someone who's starting much later.
Much later.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, there really is no difference to the strategy, right?
Okay.
Because obviously starting at 70 is much later than, let's say, someone learning at 24 or 25, right? The vehicles into which you can invest remain the same. So the S&P 500 has been around for 70 years. You have to get started. They say the best time to start investing was 20 years ago. The next best time is today.